Good morning. This is Jill Paperno from the Monroe County Bar Association, and it is my true honor and pleasure today to be speaking with a past president of the Monroe County Bar Association, Connie Walker. It's March 19th, and I just want to say that for me, one of the pleasures of being involved with the Bar Association is getting to know a variety of people in a variety of roles. And it has been, as I said, a great pleasure for me to get to know Connie Walker. So good morning, Connie.
Good morning, Jill. How are you on this
Fine.
bright, sunny morning?
It is bright and sunny. Yay. So, Connie, I know that nominally you're retired from the practice of law, but I have always known you to be involved in a million organizations and activities. So, are you retired at this point?
Well, you can say that I'm not actively practicing. I do maintain my license to practice. I haven't actively practiced law or engaged in legal work since 2015. But I have been actively involved in any number of other activities, both at the Bar Association and not just the Monroe County Bar, but GRAWA and RBBA as well.
So I'm going to get back to what you're doing now, but first let me ask you, while you were practicing law, what kind of law did you practice and what did you do?
Well, as you know, I got my start in the public defender's office. And from there, I worked in the county law department. And from there to the solo practice of law in family court and the local criminal courts, and also at the same time as a part-time law clerk in Rochester City Court. And moving from there, along with Judge DeRacy, to county and Supreme Courts. And after he was appointed to the federal bench, moved with him to the Western District. And so being a law clerk for longer than I had previously practiced, you know, when you say practice law, it has different meanings for different people. And being a legal advisor to a judge is not necessarily considered the practice of law, but it's a very important role in the court system, which I thoroughly enjoyed. Being in the courtroom when I was practicing, and then being behind the scenes when I was a legal advisor for a judge.
Thank you. And now going back to some of the activities that you're engaged in while you were in this post-clerkship period, I guess we'll call it. You mentioned some of the organizations. What are the kinds of things you're doing these days?
Well, as you know, the Rochester community is very vibrant, but also has a lot of entities that really try not only to help those individuals that they are specifically designating as part of their mission, but also understand what critical roles they play in the community. So I serve on the board of a charter school. I'm the treasurer of the board of the Eugenio Maria de Hostos Charter School. I am vice president of the Alumni Association at SUNY Brockport. I'm president of the board at the Greater Rochester Health Foundation. I serve on the Women's Connection, the Women of Color Committee for GRAWA, and on the committee that for the memorial committee for the MCBA.
Mhm.
And so my days are kind of full and fuller at various points in time.
So let me ask you this. How did you first become involved with the Monroe County Bar Association? I can see I'm starting to freeze. So we just took a quick break for some technical difficulties, but let me get back to the question I was about to ask you, Connie. How did you first become involved with the Monroe County Bar Association?
That's a very easy question. When I went before my fitness committee, the chair of that fitness committee was Peter Blauvelt, who was an attorney at the time. And one of the things that he said to me is, do you know anything about the local bar association? And I said, no. He said, then you absolutely have to join. He said, as soon as we're done and as soon as you're admitted, walk over to the bar association, introduce yourself, and say, what do I have to do to become a member? And that's exactly what I did. I thought that was great advice because, quite frankly, as a young admittee, you don't really know what's available to you unless someone points out the benefits of being part of an association. And he did that, and it made eminent sense to me. And of course,
I'm sorry.
of course, Beth Keir was there, and her position was it was a no-brainer. And so that started my journey.
And what kinds of committees or sections or work were you involved with the Bar Association when you first started?
Strategic planning, various committees, and then a trustee, a member of the foundation too. Recently, I was searching through some old paperwork and I found the letter inviting me to participate in the foundation. So I think I served as a bar trustee twice.
Mm-hmm. And what year did you become president?
2012. And I served 2012 to 2013.
Did the board have a particular focus during the time that you were president?
No, not. I can't say that there was a particular theme for the year. The focus was on maintaining basically a healthy bar and bar membership, and making certain that, you know, the bar was welcoming to all attorneys and judges. But as I look back, I know you're going to ask about some of the accomplishments during my career. This is a good segue to that, because as it turns out, we did a number of things during that year that leads me to think now that whether we planned it or not, certain things happened and happened for good reason. The first of which being we participated along with VLSP in the deferred action for childhood arrivals, because President Obama had signed the DACA Act. And that was really exhilarating to be able to help those individuals who, you know, had been brought here but didn't have real status. So starting out that way, and then participating in the race exhibit, bringing attorneys together to and their guests together to view the race exhibit, and then hosting a reception afterwards. at the Science Museum, and having that discussion about what race meant and what it meant to attorneys, not just in their practices, but personally. There were discussions about some awakenings to race as a political construct. And, the other part of that title was Race, Are We So Different? And helping develop some understanding about why those differences exist and what those differences should or shouldn't be based upon experiences versus, the biologics.
Mhm.
It was a very good discussion. Honestly, I think we were told by the museum that our group was probably the largest group that had toured the exhibit, and they were kind enough to host us for the discussion that evening. That was, I think it was one of the best learning experiences as you trace life through the millennia, to just see how the theory of race began and how it plays out in our daily lives. We also participated in a first, which was to evaluate the candidates who were seeking a seat on the Court of Appeals. That was the first time that the Bar Association had done so. And we were very pleased to collaborate with other state bar entities and also the Erie County Bar in participating in that endeavor. And to see our efforts pay off and to see our recommendations come to fruition and those judges be appointed, that was awesome. We also invited a diversity and inclusion specialist, an author, Brene Myers, to come to host a workshop for managing partners of the major law firms in town. And she also was I believe, our Law Days speaker. Those discussions were kind of heady. I participated in at least one or two of those. But the Law Day speech was really very interesting. And I think that she's someone who has well-grounded perspectives and strategies for increasing diversity, equity, and inclusion, not just at law firms, but across all types of entities. And in fact, I believe that she, right at the moment, is the Vice President for Inclusion Strategies for Netflix.
Wow. It's wonderful that you created or developed these initiatives with the board, and I'm sure some of them you did on your own initiative, starting some of the fires that.
Listen, that what occurred in terms of all of those activities and events, and really happened because, as I said, we didn't go into that bar year with a definite plan of activities and things to accomplish. A lot of the urgings came our way because of what was occurring at the time. And I think that the reason our bar association stays on the cutting edge of things is because we're not averse to change. And we're not, if we really think about it, we deal internally with the different perspectives to try to reach some consensus about how we should approach issues. And either that's the result of our legal training, or it's the result of the commitment of the members to make sure we're on the right side of things.
I've been so happy to be working with our board this year as we're trying to address some of these issues and addressing racism and trying to develop the ability to become an anti-racist organization. And
Absolutely.
I agree with you that it's a very forward-looking bar association, and it's wonderful to be associated with it.
It is, and that's my feeling. I think that, you know, you may not have 100% of everybody agreeing with you, but I do believe that the membership, you know, at the time, we prided ourselves on having approximately 2,000 members. And that gave us a seat at the ABA. So we participated in all kinds of things there as well. And in doing so, it really became clear that our bar association is really well respected and highly regarded and emulated because of, I mean, we're not alone in that regard, but it was so wonderful to, you know, be there to feel it and to hear it when we were participating on both the national and state levels. Mm-hmm.
So were there any events or issues that took you by surprise during the course of your presidency?
Well, I think it may have been an issue for, you know, any number of reasons, but the judicial evaluation process took front and center stage at points. And I think the thing that surprised me was just what it really takes to keep the relationship going between the Bar Association and the judiciary. You know, the judiciary, you can't take them for granted. You really have to understand that they come with different perspectives. And sometimes some of them are political and politically based or motivated, and other times it's just differences that you have to consider and also factor in to not only the bar initiatives, but into strategic planning for where the bars is headed. Mm-hmm. And that was, I think, the thing that took a lot of thought and time and bridge building. And it later manifested itself down the road such that, you know, the process itself is no longer the process that had been originally conceived.
And we are still working to be more involved with the bench and have them more involved with the Bar Association. We're succeeding in many ways, but it's, as you said, something that we have to be mindful of as a Bar Association and thoughtful about. Mm-hmm. So after your presidency and your year as immediate past president, I know you continued working with the Bar Association. What kinds of things have you done with the bar since then?
Well, I think as immediate past president, I think I chaired the nominating committee. I think that is part and parcel of, you know, past presidency. Now I co-chair with Steve Modica the past president's committee. And, you know, I've been, as I said, almost all of the strategic planning initiatives since I've been a member, and served on the membership committee, the awards committee, just a number of
Mhm.
You have to stay involved in some way. And it makes sense to either be part of a practice committee or to be part of one of the other committees that helps to glue the administration of justice through the association together.
Mhm. So, switching gears for a moment, what was it like to be a woman practicing law in the field when you started out?
Well, there were women. There were lots of women when I came here, and starting out in the public defender's office, when you have friends like Margaret Burt and Tammy Guglin, who they introduce you to as many people as possible and as many women attorneys as possible. I also knew attorneys like Hannah Cohn, Nancy Peck, who I knew from a whole other setting. But, it was really interesting. I went to law school with Jill and John Feldman. And so I knew their history, via their dads, before I came to Rochester to practice. So it was interesting being a minority woman. I mean, that intersection is interesting for a number of reasons. But I can honestly say that when you work with a group of people who understands that you are an African-American woman, you have different perspectives, and who are willing to listen. Listen and learn as you learn from them. And that was really very helpful. I mean, having discussions with Judge Kohout before she was a judge, and she continues to be a friend today, taking into consideration different experiences and different backgrounds, and making sure that the relationships that you're building are well grounded. And if they're well grounded and they're built on the right things, they'll last. So my friendships with those women started then, and they continue to this day. And that's what I say to young female attorneys too. Make some solid friends, people who you can trust, who can help you in not just advance in your practice, but help you with the nuances and the relationship building so that you can accomplish the things that you wish to accomplish as a professional, a legal professional.
So I wanted to also ask you, and one of the questions I was going to ask you is what it was like to be a woman bar president, but you mentioned also some of the different perspective and different experiences you had as an African-American woman. So how was it bringing your experiences as a woman and as an African-American to the bar presidency?
Well, I'll tell you this, having the benefit of having, I believe, 7 other women presidents before me was really helpful in terms of, what to expect as a woman. And, T. Andrew Brown was the first African-American president of the bar, and I sat on the board of trustees at the time of his nomination for that position. And what I can say honestly is that, when you think about being a woman, don't we think about that vis-a-vis also a woman attorney being a male attorney? And I think the discussions that the male members of the Board of Trustees may have had. Think about that, what they may have had in terms of arriving at the conclusion that it was time for a woman to be president. When you think about it, that either had to be a very interesting conversation, and you'd like to be a fly on the wall for that, but it also is a testament to forward thinking. And I think that was true with me as well. I'll tell you, I was stunned and shocked that I was asked to be president of the bar. You know, when you just do bar work, well, at least from my perspective, I never even thought about being president of the bar. It never occurred to me. You do your committee work, you go to your day job every day, and you enjoy the fruits of your labor. But I never thought that I would be tapped for that. And, you know, it shows you that you never know whose eyes are on you, who's watching you. And also it really helps to focus on what my mother always used to say: you have to bring and be your best self, because you don't know who's watching. And from her perspective, all you had to know that from a religious perspective, that the angels and God were always watching you. So you had to be on your best behavior, at least from a moral and ethical standpoint. So.
Those sound like great words of wisdom for us to all consider. So let me ask you this. Are there any memories that you have of incidents that you experienced as an attorney or a bar president and as a woman or African American that reflect different ways that you might have been treated as a woman or African American in those roles?
Yes. You know, at a point, I think it was very chic and fashionable to say, you know, I don't see color. And my position has always been, okay, so when I walk in a room, I'm already discounted because you don't see me. How can you not see me? I'm a Black woman. You can't just get rid of that part and say I'm colorblind. And having to have discussions around that more than I ever thought I would. It was intriguing to me because it's nice to say, I just see people. But what you also have to be aware of is that you can't discount history, and you can't discount that half of experiences just because, you know, you just want to have an interpersonal relationship with someone. And so you always have to be mindful that that those differences don't necessarily have to be barriers, but you have to understand that there are differences and that there are reasons for the differing perspectives that people bring to the table. So when you say, you know, I don't see color, beware, because I have a conversation that will follow to help you understand that you must see that first and understand what that means. And then working, if you want to build a relationship or a friendship in some way, be mindful that it shouldn't be a barrier, because after all, humanity is humanity. And that's just the way it is.
Mm-hmm. Well, I have two last questions to ask you. And one is, do you have any advice for younger women attorneys?
Aside from what I've already said, I think yes. I really think that focusing on being the best attorney that you can be in your field, staying aware and involved in your area of practice is key. The focus on excellence, I think, is key. And as you well know from your own practice, that that has meaning, and excellence has meaning, different meaning for different people. But it is a bar nonetheless, and a standard that you should hold. But I think the other thing is they should also join a bar association, whether it's MCBA, GRAWA, RBBA, the NISBA, ABA. Join an association, because that membership, it really broadens your perspectives. It helps you to understand the value of the law, not just in your life and your professional life, but to those members of society who depend upon you to make sure that their rights are protected, whether they're corporate, indigent. You really have to make sure that you're part of an organization that helps to further the administration of justice. Additionally, I would say get involved in the community. I've been involved in community boards and organizations as an attorney, and before I became an attorney. So I got that from my parents. They were involved in a lot of things in the community. And so I would say to young women, get involved. Do not be afraid to be a change maker. Be daring. It is, I think, the advice that, someone may have given me in different words, but I would say be bold and be daring.
As you were saying that, I pictured a poster in my office saying, be bold, be daring. I love that advice. Do you have any other, I'm sorry.
I might coin that, but I love that, because that is, with young women in particular, young lawyers in particular, we're not just young lawyers. We have all different kinds of interests, and we're great at other things that help our lives to be enriched and valuable to others. And so I think that should translate to, you as a lawyer as well.
Is there anything else that you'd like to add before we wrap up this discussion?
Well, I'd like to say thank you for the opportunity to just have a conversation with no pressure. And to have a conversation that is really based on wanting to know what life was like for me as a bar president. And I hope through your interviews with the other past presidents that you gain some insight that might help you too, and help you pass along to the next one. I will say that I served from 2012 to 2013, and then Diane Cicero back to back, 2 women the following year. And that was just phenomenal to be part of that. So as I said, being part of MCA as a forward and thinking organization, association is really helpful to getting women and keeping them involved.
Well, thank you so much for spending time with us today and for your thoughtfulness and your responses. I agree with so much of what you say. And when you say, that these interviews might help guide, I kind of wish I'd seen them in the beginning of my term because they are really informative and thought-provoking. And you, as always, are informative, thought-provoking, and I'm going to get that poster, I think. So thank you so much, Connie Walker. It was great speaking with you.
Thank you. Have a great day.
You too. Bye-bye.